Hey there, web dev enthusiasts. Today we're diving into creating an animated filling loader using just HTML and CSS. The idea behind this project is to build a sleek loading animation with a progress bar and some fun text effects, all powered by CSS animations. It's perfect for adding a polished touch to any website that needs a loading screen. The loading bar will fill with a colorful gradient and will also have a cool loading text with animated dots popping in and out to keep the user engaged. If you're ready to take your website's loading experience to the next level, let's get started. And don't forget to subscribe. I'm sure this animation will make you want to come back for more. Now let's code this up. Let's start with the HTML. First, in the body section, we add a div with the class loader. This is the container for our loading animation and the text. Inside that loader container, we create another div with the class loading text. Here we'll show the text loading along with some animated dots. The dots are added with span elements, each having the class dot, allowing us to animate them one by one. Below the text, we add a div with the class loading bar background. This will be the background for our progress bar. Inside it, we place another div with the class loading bar that represents the actual progress bar that fills up during the loading process. Finally, inside the loading bar, we add a div with the class whitebars container. This holds multiple div elements with the class whitebar. These bars will animate to give a cool effect inside the progress bar. That's the basic structure for the loader, the text, and the progress bar. Let's take a quick peek at how it looks in the browser so far. Now let's dive into the CSS and make this loader look awesome. First, we target the body. We set the height to 100 VH to cover the entire viewport height. We remove any margin to avoid any unwanted space around the edges. We apply a background color for a dark theme. We display the body as a grid and use place items center to center everything both vertically and horizontally. Lastly, we set the font family to Poppins for a clean and modern look. That's the basic styling for the body. Next, we add the selector loader. We display it as flex, which helps us center everything. We align the items to the center and justify the content to the center, so everything is evenly spaced. We set the flex direction to column to stack the elements vertically. Finally, we add a gap of 5 pixels to create some space between the elements. Now, we style the loader's background. We set the width to 200 pixels and the height to 30 pixels. We add padding of 5 pixels and set the box sizing to border box. We choose a dark background color and give it a border radius of 15 pixels to round the corners. We also add a box shadow for some subtle depth with a color positioned inside the box. Now, we add the selector loading text to style the text inside the loader. We set the color to white for better contrast. Then, we set the font size to 14 pixels to make it legible. We apply a font weight of 600 to make it bold and add a margin left of 10 pixels to give it some space from the edge. Next, we have the selector dot. We set the margin left to 3 pixels to create a small gap between the dots. Then, we apply the animation blink with a duration of 1.5 seconds, running infinitely for a continuous effect. Now we add the selector dot nth child of 2, which targets the second dot in the loading text. We set the animation delay to 0.3 seconds to make it appear a bit later than the first dot. This creates a staggered effect for the dots. Next, we add the selector dot nth child 3, which targets the third dot in our loading text. We set the animation delay to 0.6 seconds so it animates with a slight delay after the others. Now we add the selector loading bar. It's the container for our progress bar. We set the position to relative to position elements inside it accurately. Next, we display it as flex with flex direction column, so the items stack vertically. We set the width to 0% initially, because the bar will fill during the animation. The height is set to 20 pixels for the progress bar. We also add overflow hidden to hide anything outside the bar's boundaries. We add a background color, then apply a linear gradient from one color to another for a sleek transition effect. The border radius is set to 10 pixels for rounded corners. Finally, we apply an animation called loading, which runs for 4 seconds with an ease out timing function, and it repeats infinitely. Now we add the selector whitebars container. We set the position to absolute so we can position it freely. We use display flex to align items horizontally. Let's add align items center to vertically center the bars. We use gap 18 pixels to add space between the bars. This creates a cool effect for the loading bar. That's the CSS for whitebars container. Next, we add the selector whitebar. We set the background to a linear gradient at -45 degrees, with the color going from RGBA 255, 255, 255, 1 to RGBA 255, 1 255, 255, 0 at 70% opacity. We set the width to 10 pixels and and the height to 45 pixels. We reduce the opacity to 0.3 for a subtle effect and rotate it by 45 degrees to create a diagonal effect. Finally, we define the keyframe animation called loading. We set it to start with a width of 0%, then at 80%, we expand it to 100%, and it stays at 100% width by the end. Next, we create the keyframe animation called blink. It starts and ends with an opacity of 0, but at 50%, it reaches full opacity. Now the looks awesome and can be used in any website, especially those modern websites. That's all for both HTML and CSS, my clever web developer friends. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this tutorial helpful and fun, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more awesome web development tutorials. Also, let me know what you think about this loader. Maybe you've got some ideas for more cool animations. Catch you in the next video, and happy coding.